Hello and welcome to the news at 7, where we get to the heart of the day's stories and communities across Scotland tonight. It's been a long time coming, but Rangers finally have a new manager. We'll bring you the latest on Danny Röhl's move to Ibrox. Scotland's leading retail trade association warns that after a tricky 2025, this festive season could be make or break for many high street businesses.
Yeah, definitely more online now. At least I check things on my phone before I come into town, so I don't really browse anymore.
We will speak to the Scottish Retail Consortium about those Christmas concerns. Also tonight is the country's education sector in crisis. With strike ballots involving both school and university staff, we will hear from Scotland's largest teaching union. And we will, of course, have more reaction in the sport to that Rangers news, won't we, Lewis?
We certainly will, Amy. More on that appointment at Rangers, of course, but there just happened to be a few big talking points in the weekend in the Premiership. We'll cover the lot.
We certainly will. And later, as Ewan McGregor is recognised by BAFTA for his outstanding contribution to film and TV, we'll celebrate the roles that made him a star. Hello, I'm Amy Irons and welcome to the news at 7. First tonight, it certainly hasn't been straightforward, has it? But after a couple of false starts, Rangers have finally appointed a successor to Russell Martin as manager at Ibrox. Former Sheffield Wednesday boss Danny Röhl will take the reins at the club, with his team currently languishing 6th in the Premiership at the moment. Our sports news correspondent Chris McLaughlin is live at Ibrox for us tonight. Chris, it has been quite the saga, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's one way of putting it, Amy. It absolutely has been a saga, and I think that there will be huge relief for those in this club behind me, because there have been so many twists and turns to this saga over the past couple of weeks. 3 candidates in total, including the man who is now the head coach, at some point ruled themselves out. So yes, it has been a saga, but Rangers just a few hours ago confirmed that Danny Röhl, the 36-year-old German, is now their new head coach. No chance to speak to the media just yet. That may happen over the next couple of days. Some quotes quickly from the website, from the man himself. The expectations are huge, and I love this challenge because I set high standards for myself and the team too. The chairman, Andrew Kavanagh. We know the past few months have been challenging, but our focus has always been on getting the right person who is ready to immediately embrace this football club and the demands that come with it. Now, how will the fans feel? That's the big question. Remember the anger around Russell Martin. The Rangers fans weren't convinced by his appointment in the first place. Will they back Danny Röhl? Earlier on, I caught up with a few to find out.
It's been a bit of a fiasco from start to finish, you know, to be perfectly honest. I suppose you've got to back the manager, give him a chance. But wouldn't be my first choice. Personally speaking, I'd prefer Gerrard.
They should have brought back Ferguson.
Barry Ferguson?
Barry, yes. That's my opinion. Half of them don't agree with me.
Right.
But I think Barry Ferguson is doing a good job.
Anything's better than Martin. I don't know, to be honest, whether to be pleased or scared, really. It's not exciting times.
Is it tough being a Rangers fan just now?
Yes, especially when your mates are Celtic fans.
Well, Chris, I can detect it's going to take quite a bit to win some of the fans over.
I thought it was really telling, actually, speaking, Amy, to that Rangers fan who said, I'm not sure whether to be excited or scared. I think that kind of sums up the mood of the Rangers fans. But look, there is also some huge questions from them for the club's board because of what has been a bungled process. There's no doubt about that. Remember, Steven Gerrard, spoken to by the board, ruled himself out. Danny Röhl, spoken to by the board, ruled himself out. Kevin Muscat deal collapsed just yesterday before the board got back on the phone to make that deal with Röhl himself. So remember also when the board decided to sack Russell Martin just a few weeks ago, the new owners, the new American consortium, sent this open letter to the fans saying, look, hands up, we got this one wrong. We will be all over it this time. We will be better this time. There's no doubt about that. We know what's needed. We understand the expectations of the fans. I think the ire from the fans is directed at the moment towards the Chief Executive, Patrick Stewart, and the sporting director Kevin Thelwell. But I would say also, given what's happened over the past couple of weeks, the new owners have not exactly covered themselves in glory either with regards to how the Rangers fans are feeling about them.
Chris McLaughlin at Ibrox for us this evening. Thanks very much as always. And Lewis will be here with the sport very shortly. Lewis, I'm going to assume that you will be all over this, but it's not the only sport in town. It's not the only sports story in town.
Exactly, you're right, Amy. It is, there's so much to get into with it. We'll hear from the Herald's Stephen McGowan, who gives us the view from the press, but also we'll speak to someone that's played under Danny Röhl in recent seasons as well. I'll tease that one out there and leave you hanging though.
Yes, leave us waiting to see who that's going to be.
But as you said, it was such a big weekend, so we'll also look back on what was a dramatic one in the Premiership, with Celtic suffering a really sore defeat, but Hearts flying high at the top. So
they're
lots on
just
the
going
sport.
under the radar, doing their
For
thing
now,
at the
they're
moment,
doing
aren't
that
they?
indeed.
You'll be back in the next 10-15 minutes or so.
I will.
Lewis, thanks very
Amy.
much. See you then. Now, education in Scotland has traditionally been a source of national pride, but in recent years it's increasingly appeared to be a sector under strain. Earlier this month, Scotland's biggest teaching union, the EIS, announced that it's set to ballot its members on strike action, claiming that the Scottish Government has reneged on promises it made to teachers over working conditions. Elsewhere, the further and higher education system is feeling immense financial strain. On Friday, the EIS called off continued industrial action at the University of the West of Scotland over proposed job cuts and compulsory redundancies. But elsewhere, a UK-wide ballot on strike action covering more than 100 universities opened today, with unions, including the EIS, demanding a fairer pay deal for staff. Well, there is lots to get into, and we're very glad that there's a man perfectly here to get chatting about it. We've got Assistant General Secretary of the EIS, Stuart Brown. Thank you very much for popping into the studio, Stuart. So first of all, we heard about the University of West of Scotland. So that has been called off. Is that, do you see that being a temporary sticking plaster, if you like, or are your members happy with the process that's been made?
So the decision to suspend this week's 2 days of strike action came after 8 days of strike action by EIS ULA members at the University of West Coast of Scotland. And it came after months of sustained campaigning and negotiation about trying to get the management of that university to remove compulsory redundancies as a risk and take them off the table. That agreement came late on Friday afternoon, and as a measure of good faith, the EIS has decided to suspend this week's strike action, and the local branch of the union there will meet to discuss the proposals and see if we can avoid the further 10 days of strike action that are planned.
You are one of a number of unions, like we just said, they're involved in this UK-wide strike ballot over staff's pay that just started today. Explain just what it means, what exactly your members are looking for, because we're not just talking about one university, this is across the country.
Well, the 1.4% pay offer from university employers comes after years of sub-inflationary pay offers to staff in the university sector, including EIS members here in Scotland. What our members are looking for is for the university employers to demonstrate the value that they say they have in their staff by putting a proper, credible pay offer on the table.
On top of all this, so we go from further and higher education to our schools, and there's going to be a ballot coming next month for action from school teachers. So again, this isn't something that is just affecting one part of our education sector.
That's right, there's pressure being felt right across the sector. The EIS represents members from nursery teaching all the way through to universities, and our members are reporting pressure on workload in the schools. We're seeing pressure with increased ASN, which is currently over 40% in Scotland, with less resourcing than ever, as well as issues with violent behaviour in schools as well.
Well, the Scottish Government has told us that it's disappointed that you're taking this action when it says it's working with unions and local authorities to deliver a reduction in teachers' class contact at pace. What would you say to their statement when they say they're disappointed? I'm sure you would disagree with that, and that your members will feel that they've probably not got any other option at this point.
Well, the ballot and class contact time has came after 4 years of trying to negotiate the Scottish Government and local authorities through their umbrella body COSLA to come good on the promise they made to the Scottish electorate to reduce class contact time to 21 hours. We hear that they say they're working at pace, but we would ask, what pace are they working at? Because at every point throughout this dispute, it has been the escalation from the teachers' side of negotiations that has produced results. We're not taking action yet, we're balloting our members. The ballot starts on the 12th of November. There is time. They have to come back round the negotiating table and meaningfully negotiate with us to avoid an escalation of this dispute further.
Stuart Brown from the EIS, thank you very much for popping into the studio. Thank you. Thanks for joining us on tonight's News at 7. We have more to come in the programme, including equally at home in the worst toilet in Scotland and a galaxy far, far away. We're paying tribute to Ewan McGregor as he adds another honour to his trophy cabinet.
Last week was all about high pressure. This week, low pressure. That means rain at times, but not a washout. I'll have all the details later in the programme.
Next tonight, it is just 66 days to go until, and yes, I'm going to say it, Christmas. And while most of Scotland is some way off looking out the tinsel and putting up a tree, it's fair to say that the festive season is already foremost in the minds of Scotland's retail sector. And after a difficult year to date with high inflation, increased tax on employers and the wider cost of living squeeze, the Scottish Retail Consortium says the 2 months ahead could be make or break for many of the businesses it represents. Earlier, we asked shoppers in Glasgow whether they intend to spend their money on the high street this year.
So what we've done today is we've had a wee look about. We've been in John Lewis, we've been in all the main shops just to see if anything catches our eye for a wee sneaky gift for somebody.
I think it's more about convenience and just kind of, I don't have a lot of time, I'm working full time, so I just like look at my phone, like maybe when I'm commuting, rather than go into the shops.
Just do online for ease. Just gets delivered to you. You know what somebody wants, you look online.
I'm not really worried about the cost, because if you want to buy it, you buy it.
Yeah, actually it's cheaper when you go out shopping in the main street because there's always a sale on somewhere. But I just like doing bulk buys, so I'll just get it all in the one, save myself going from every shop.
Well, earlier, Ewan McDonald-Russell from the Scottish Retail Consortium told us how things are looking for the high street.
I guess on a geographical basis, Edinburgh's been going great guns for the last couple of years, partly influenced by lots of tourists coming to the city, of course, but it's become a real retail destination, and actually even on things like fashion, probably slightly ahead now of Glasgow. And Glasgow's, probably okay, but certainly not the powerhouse it once was. We'd say the other side on a more kind of structural basis, people still shopping a little bit more online, although that's stabilised about 35% of non-food shopping. And we also see people shopping a lot at out-of-town retail and shopping centres. So the traditional high street, particularly high streets in less affluent areas, those are the ones that have struggled in recent years, and they're the ones where, Christmas trading becomes even more important as a consequence.
Yeah, and for retailers, I mean, they're obviously battling lots of things, aren't they? Like employers' national insurance going up, high inflation, cost of living still causing many people problems. So the fact that there's some growth in spite of all of this, is there cause for optimism, would you say, in that?
I think a little quiet optimism with one huge kind of caveat to that. The optimism is that, the growth isn't great, but there is a little bit. It's kind of in line with sort of what inflation is going up, and we sort of hope that the economy will tick over a little bit. The big caveat is we have a UK government budget coming right in the middle of our key shopping time, and that sort of is making everyone a bit nervous. Last year's budget was brutal for the retail industry. The rise in employer national insurance cost Scottish retailers over £190 million alone, and that's the reason why shop prices have gone up this year, to pay for that. So we're very nervous that there might be new costs for retailers, and we're really, really worried that the UK government might have new taxes or charges or bills for our shoppers that will put them off their Christmas shopping, to be honest.
Yes, so there are lots of things that retailers would be worried about in next month's budget. Are there things, that you would be looking for that might improve retailers' fortunes? Do you expect anything at all?
I think that the big thing we're hoping for, kind of at a UK level, that will then come to Scotland is the reform of business rates. The UK government said it wants to reduce that burden on retail, and retail is a huge payer of business rates. So anything that can offset that will make a huge difference to particularly physical shops' bottom line. So that's kind of on our hope thing. As we said on the fear thing, it's that new extra costs coming in on payroll or property, or big costs coming in, taxes on things like VAT or income tax rises for our customers. Those are the things that put off shoppers and kind of depress a bit of confidence. And consumer confidence is pretty shugly right now, to be honest.
Ewan McDonald-Russell, thank you very much for joining us on the programme and taking us through all of that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, as we head deeper into autumn, today marks the start of the annual Scottish Poppy Appeal, leading up to Armistice Day on the 11th of November. The appeal raises funds for current and former members of the armed forces, along with their families. It helps them with issues ranging from mental health support to employment and housing. Earlier, the National Poppy Appeal Manager for Scotland, Richard Todd, explained why the campaign matters as much now as it ever has.
I think really the importance of the Poppy Appeal is that, as a nation, we can come together and we can support our armed forces community across Scotland. The key thing for ourselves is to ensure that we can get out there, we can pay our respects, but also raise vital funds to continue the work that we do with our armed forces community.
Yeah, the Poppy Appeal, it obviously dates back to supporting First World War veterans and remembering those that were lost in the First World War. But it's not just about those veterans, is it? It's about more recent veterans and those still serving in the armed forces. It's about supporting all of them, isn't it?
Yeah, spot on. As we get further and further away from our First World War, Second World War generation, as you say, it is about supporting all veterans, no matter the conflict that they have been involved in, or indeed the humanitarian aid efforts that they've provided that relief in. We support our ex-servicemen and women, along with our current serving personnel and their families.
Still to come, we will get the weather with Christopher, but before all of that, it is sport time with Lewis. And Lewis, last week we were talking about Danny Rule ruling himself out, and now he's back in. It's been quite the story, hasn't it, Rangers, in the last week or so?
It certainly has, Amy, and have you managed to keep up with it just about? Well, if not, I'll bring you the latest on this man here. Hello there, yes, and we're going to show you the best of the action from another dramatic round of Premiership fixtures in just a moment. But we're going to start with this big news that Rangers have appointed Danny Rule as their new head coach. The 36-year-old, formerly at Sheffield Wednesday, has signed a 2.5-year contract to succeed Russell Martin, who was sacked just over 2 weeks ago. Earlier, we spoke to one of Rule's former players, Barry Bannon, who was full of praise for the German.
I was really impressed with how confident he came across, because I was putting myself in his situation and I don't think I could be like that, but he came across really confident, and obviously he's been in the game for a while, even given his young age. He's obviously been assistant manager at top teams, which stands him in good stead as well. But no, he was his age we never really looked at his age after a few weeks, because his training and the way he came across was years above what he actually is.
Barry Bannon speaking there. So after a fortnight of trying to find a new head coach, Rangers do finally have Danny Rule here, a German coach who's well known in the English Championship, but what else do we actually know about him? Well, his first coaching job was at Bundesliga side RB Leipzig there, where he was previously a video analyst for the club as well. From there, he moved to the Premiership with Leipzig coach Ralph Hasenhüttl to Southampton. And then he made the move back to the Bundesliga as an assistant coach with the champions Bayern Munich. He followed then Bayern coach Hansi Flick to the national setup with Germany before taking up his first managerial position at Hillsborough with championship side Sheffield Wednesday, where he spent almost 2 seasons. So Rangers have finally confirmed the appointment of the man himself, but they do sit 13 points behind Premiership leaders Hearts and 9 behind their old firm rivals Celtic there. After the weekend's action, I spoke to Herald sports writer at large Steve McGowan to get his thoughts on Rangers' recruitment process and the issues facing Celtic after defeat to Dundee.
Very quickly moved to a narrative where it looked as if Steven Gerrard would be coming in. I think the supporters are reasonably happy with that. It looked like the populist choice, of course. Sean Dyche wasn't so keen, and then Gerrard flew for talks. The timing wasn't right. And then we ended up in a scenario where it looked like Danny Rule was less happiness with that. I think not so much because of his record at Sheffield Wednesday, which was reasonable in terms of he did a really good escape job there. I think it's more the questions about his leadership. So I think, therefore, when they moved to Kevin Muscat, somebody who knew the club, who had a bit more experience in coaching, I think there was some happiness about that, and that's fallen through, and we're back at Danny Rule. It's interesting because of the Bayern Munich and the German national team thing. He's dealt with big egos. He's been around big environments, so he knows his way around that, but that's quite different from being the main man in a landscape like Glasgow, where it's incredibly intense, sometimes quite manic. So that's going to be a big test, and that is the concern. I think Rangers felt at the moment they were crying out for a leader. Someone who was going to come in and really rally the fans, rally the players and make something happen. Can Danny Rule do that? Time will tell.
It certainly will. Well, as I mentioned at the start, Stephen, we've got plenty more to discuss from what was a quite dramatic weekend, and it's Rangers got that 2-2 draw against Dundee United on Saturday to make it 6 Premiership draws in 8 matches for the Ibrox side. Craig Sibbald's stunner looked to have secured 3 points for Jim Goodwin's United side as well, in Govan, only for James Tavernier to grab a point for the hosts in the 87th minute. A Clark Robertson header set Dundee on their way to a famous 2-0 win over Celtic at Dens Park, which means Hearts finished the weekend 5 points clear at the top of the table, with a Claudio Braga double helping them to a 3-0 win over Kilmarnock at Rugby Park on Saturday. Elsewhere, Marco Lazetic's late goal made it back-to-back wins for Aberdeen as they beat 10-man St Mirren 1-0 in Paisley, while Scott Arfield scored the winner as Falkirk came out on top 2-1 versus Motherwell. And Hibernian moved up into third with a 4-0 victory over Livingston at Easter Road, with Junior Hoylett bagging a brace there. But yes, Stephen, the big standout from all of that has to simply be that Celtic defeat.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of question marks surrounding Celtic right now. I think supporters would be entitled to wonder what exactly is the malaise there. I think there's a staleness around the club. I think we've seen protests against the board of directors. We are now seeing huge question marks over Brendan Rodgers and whether he's going to be there next season. It looks increasingly likely he'll be gone. Brendan Rodgers compared his attacking options to a Honda Civic, which I thought was quite unfair to Honda Civics, which have always been quite reliable. But really, you have to wonder as well what kind of impact that will have on morale and confidence of his players. I think what Hearts are showing is that if you use the money you have and you spend it well, that's more important than how much you have. So they have adopted this Jamestown Analytics data model, of course, and they look to have signed really smartly. And Derek McInnes is really trying to foster this siege mentality, isn't he? When he says everybody wants to knock us off our perch, well, actually, I think if you go across the wider populace, a lot of people would quite like to see Hearts succeed to freshen up the menu.
Stephen McGowan speaking to me there. And there's plenty more for you over on the BBC Sport website too, including some curling news for you, as Bruce Mout's Rink secured their first Grand Slam victory of the season with a 5-2 victory over Canadian Matt Dunstan's team in the final of the Tour Challenge in Alberta. So well done to Bruce Mout. And of course, plenty more chat on Rangers on the website as well, Amy.
It's the story that keeps giving, Lewis. It is. Thanks very much, as always. Now, from Train Spotting to Star Wars, the Perthshire-born actor Ewan McGregor has had a varied 30-year career on the silver screen, even earning himself a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame back in 2024. And today, BAFTA Scotland has announced he'll be given the Outstanding Contribution to Film and Television Award at the Academy's Awards next month. Let's take a look at a few of his most iconic on-screen moments.
Choose life, choose a job, choose a career. What on earth could make you think we'd want to share a flat like this with someone like you?
I've totally cracked. I don't see any cracks. A few wrinkles, maybe.
Took me a while to notice it, but after the overlook, she wouldn't look me in the eyes, not for long.
I will do what I must.
You will try.
Well, with us in the studio is journalist and film critic Siobhan Sinnott. We just saw a couple of highlights there, Siobhan,
Yep.
but Ewan really has such an eclectic body of work, doesn't he? Can you pick a standout in terms of his performance?
It's been an amazing career, hasn't it? I mean, everybody would be talking about Train Spotting, because Train Spotting effectively launched him not just in the UK, but internationally as well. And he became, since Sean Connery, the first Scottish movie actor to feel the real heat of international attention thanks to Train Spotting. And then, of course, there's Star Wars, Moulin Rouge, lots of blockbusters, but lots of indie films as well, some Scottish movies too. Of course, Young Adam is one, Perfect Sense, directed by David Mackenzie, that's another. Train Spotting 2, which is a really interesting return to the Train Spotting ambit with reflections about how time has passed, about rebellious middle age, and about the importance of friendship and reunion, and Scotland.
I know, as much as he's appeared in so many particularly big films, but I think what really stands out, we were talking about this earlier, is even after Star Wars and the likes, Moulin Rouge, he still didn't seem to get really sucked into the big Hollywood machine, did he? He's appeared on stage and gone back into television, so he's not really been sucked into the big machine of Hollywood that many other actors of that kind of similar time perhaps have been.
Such a great point, because I think around 2016, 2017, there was a point where he took stock. It was around the time of T2 Trainspotting. It's a time where he has moved more into television. I mean, he earned awards and plaudits playing Christian Holsten, the fashion designer in the miniseries Holsten. Of course, there was Gentleman in Moscow for Apple Plus, which also was very well received, and Fargo, which I think was a real breakthrough for him, playing twin brothers in the deadly murder mystery franchise, and that went down very well. I think it certainly changed direction for Ewan McGregor in quite a significant way.
I couldn't believe he's never even been nominated for an Oscar. I'd known that he'd never won one, but he's never been nominated even for an Oscar. But he's got Emmys and Golden Globes. But how important do you think it is, the BAFTA Scotland Award, the fact that it's for an outstanding contribution? It's not just for one individual role, it's for recognising his contribution over such a long period.
It marks a homecoming for him, and it also marks out that every generation has got a Ewan McGregor film. For kids, it's maybe Beauty and the Beast as the singing, dancing candlestick. Let's hope it's not Shallow Grave, where he gets beaten and stabbed.
Yeah, absolutely, Siobhan Sinnott. Thank you very much for joining us in the studio and chatting us through just some of the Ewan McGregor highlights. Thank you. Just before the weather then, American TV royalty met the King's Royal Guards after a chance encounter on Deeside last week. Late night host Jimmy Fallon got kilted up to attend dinner at their barracks in Ballater.
And so I now have my own kilt from these guys, and they gave me something called Buckfast, which is a type of wine. Let's just say I'm feeling it today. I'm just so grateful, thankful for everyone for being so nice. In Scotland, I'm not Scottish, I'm not pretending to be Scottish, but I feel like right now I might be the most Scottish person in Scotland.
Of course, he's picked a good place to come and visit, hasn't he?
He has indeed.
Needing a little break, although not looking at the sky behind you there,
yes,
Christopher.
It was a bit gloomy in places this morning, but it brightened up, which was much better than all the rain we had yesterday, Amy. But you're right. Lots of gloom around. Take a look at these pictures. You can just about make out the Tay rail bridge there in going over from Fife over to Dundee. Pretty gloomy. Some sunshine if you're going the other direction, the other coast over towards Millport there on Cumbrae. And you can see some misty, murky conditions around parts of the northeast coast, but it brightened up, and for many it was dry. But last week was all about high pressure. This week it's all about low pressure. That means there will be some outbreaks of rain, some showers at times, but equally some drier, brighter slots in between. So it's not a washout by any stretch of the imagination, but nothing like all those dry days that we had last week. So first thing tomorrow, and it's a bit of a cloudy start with some showers almost anywhere really, but there'll be a line of them in the west and a line of them in the east as well. Some early mist and fog here will lift through the course of the day. But then, unlike today where it did brighten up, the cloud is likely to stick with us through the course of Tuesday. So you can see that as we head through Tuesday morning towards lunchtime, there'll be some showery outbreaks of rain working west to east across the country, around 12 to 14 Celsius, a few brighter spots developing later in the day. That takes us to Wednesday, and we've got low pressure situated to our north. But actually, it's reasonably dry and bright. There'll be some spells of sunshine around. So whilst tomorrow is fairly grey and cloudy, Wednesday should be fairly bright with some spells of sunshine, but a number of showers arriving on those west-northwest winds. So despite it being a shade cooler, actually, it probably won't feel too bad with that sunshine overhead. Thursday, another low-pressure system in the northwest trying to move in, bringing some rain. Before it arrives, though, some mist and fog will lift and then dry and bright, and then the rain arrives later on. And then, here's something interesting. As we go to the end of the week, that low-pressure system and its associated weather fronts pulls away, and notice the wind direction coming in from the north, so a bit of a cold snap on the way overnight Friday and into the weekend. So let me talk you through the details for the end of the week. This is Friday, and you can see the arrows coming in from the north, indicating a cool northerly with a few showers around. Temperature's still okay, 10 or 11 Celsius. But as we head through towards the start of the weekend, well, once again, it's a cold northerly. Some of those showers will be wintry in the mountains. Temperatures on the thermometer, 8 or 9 Celsius. In the wind, feeling more like 5. That's the forecast.
5, Christopher. I think that got a lot of people sitting up and taking note. It's time really to get the big jackets out now,
Yeah,
isn't
and
it?
next weekend is clock change weekend.
Thanks for reminding me, because I'm always one of these people that will forget. So I'll need you to remind me probably.
We'll do it all week, don't
worry. You'll do it all week. Thank you very much. As always, you'll be back with us tomorrow.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, as always. Thank you very much, Christopher. And thanks to you for joining us on the News at 7 SWPL highlights. Follow us on this channel, and Laura McKeever will be here with you along with Chris tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.